In broad daylight, a peaceful home becomes the scene of an unspeakable tragedy. A father brutally murders his young son before repeatedly driving a 5-inch nail into his wife's body until she dies, leaving behind a mystery no one can explain. Years later, a brightly lit convenience store stands on the very same land, as though nothing had ever happened. Yukino Tazuru, a college student, works the night shift at LT convenience store. As she arrives for work, she greets her coworker, Funabashi, who is waiting to hand over the shift before heading home. She asks if he has heard anything about their store manager, but he says he hasn't. Yukino then heads to the locker room to change into her work uniform. When she reaches the counter, Funabashi quietly leaves without saying goodbye. A few days later, detectives Saruwatari and Kondo arrive at the LT convenience store to investigate a gruesome crime. The store manager, Toshiro Tsurukawa, has been found dead in the basement, with his eyes gouged out. At the crime scene, the forensic team recovers several burned SD cards, but they are too badly damaged for any of the files to be retrieved. As the detectives return to the main store, they spot Funabashi, unconscious on a stretcher after being discovered inside a locker in the employee's changing room. Moments later, they meet Yukino, the employee who found the store manager's body. Saruwatari questions Yukino, who reveals she works at the convenience store 6 days a week to pay for tuition, cover living expenses, and support her mother. Throughout the interview, she glances at the clock. It is already past 4 a.m. When asked if she noticed anything unusual before the incident, Yukino hands Saruwatari an SD card and explains how she found it. The scene shifts back to Zero Night. While taking expired food to the back of the store, Yukino notices a door secured with a massive lock. Suddenly, a homeless old man appears and claims he knows what happened there because someone told him in a dream. He says that if Yukino gives him the food, she will be saved. Though hesitant, she hands it over, and the old man quickly runs off with the food. Back inside the store, a delivery man suddenly appears with a package addressed to her. She opens the box and finds an SD card inside. Yukino opens the file and discovers a mysterious video showing the front door of a house that appears to be connected to a crime scene. Saruwatari asks what time she received the SD card, and Yukino says she watched the video at around 4:43 a.m. She then hands him 3 more SD cards, explaining that she received one each day before glancing at the clock once again. The scene shifts back to the first night. Funabashi tells Yukino that the entrance door keeps opening on its own, and the chime won't stop ringing. He jokes that it might be a poltergeist, though he insists he doesn't believe in ghosts. Before leaving, he mentions that rats have returned to the trash bins and asks her to get rid of them. While spraying the trash bins, Yukino notices a woman sitting inside a parked car, staring intently at her. The woman starts the engine and drives away, leaving Yukino puzzled. Moments later, as Yukino mops the floor, an old woman appears at the entrance late at night. When Yukino opens the door, the woman silently hurries to the restroom. Yukino resumes her work, but in the next instant, she finds the restroom door wide open and completely empty. She is left wondering where the old woman went, but then the old woman asks Yukino where Ken is. Speaking incoherently, she claims the store is her daughter's house and repeatedly mutters, "Give it back." Without another word, she turns and walks away. Confused, Yukino checks the live CCTV feed and spots a young boy peeking through the store's entrance. The chime suddenly rings. She rushes to the door, only to find another package lying on the floor. Back in the present, Saruwatari watches the second SD card. The footage shows a basement, where a 5-inch nail has been thrown onto the floor. Yukino then begins recounting what happened the following night. Yukino is in the changing room when Funabashi suddenly steps out of a locker, startling her. She asks if he is behind the mysterious SD cards, but he denies it. Yukino tells him she has received 2 SD cards containing strange videos. Funabashi assures her that if anything unusual happens, she should let him know. Later, an air conditioner repairman arrives, saying he received a maintenance request. He heads to the back of the store to inspect the outdoor unit. Meanwhile, Yukino enters the storage room to grab some supplies, but the door suddenly locks behind her. The lights go out. She desperately tries to force the door open and cries for help, but there is no one in the store. Suddenly, Yukino hears the repairman scream. Moments later, several cans of drinks fall to the floor. As she picks them up, she is startled to find a young boy crouching nearby. Yukino then notices several 5-inch nails scattered across the floor. Terrified, she screams and bolts toward the door. It suddenly swings open, revealing a woman standing outside. The woman hands Yukino a protective charm before quickly stepping away, saying she feels suffocated. While checking the live CCTV feed, Yukino hears the entrance chime ring. When she steps out of the office, she finds another package waiting on the counter. Saruwatari is called aside by Kondo, who informs him that Funabashi has woken up, but is still too disoriented to give a statement. Saruwatari tells him that Yukino believes the convenience store is haunted. He also reveals that the 4 SD cards may have been planted, and suspects whoever delivered them was targeting the store itself, not just the store manager. Yukino recalls the third night. At around 1:46 a.m., terrifying events unfold in her home. The doorbell rings non-stop, the lights switch off on their own, and her cup suddenly crashes to the floor. She hears a creaking sound coming from her bedroom. When she looks under the bed, when she checks again moments later, another package has mysteriously appeared. On the fourth night, Yukino arrives at the convenience store looking for Funabashi, but he is nowhere to be found. Moments later, a power outage plunges the area into darkness. As she steps out of the office, she is horrified to discover the store has changed. The room is filled with CCTV monitors, while countless 5-inch nails are scattered across the floor. Yukino desperately tries to open the entrance door, but it won't budge. She rushes to the storage room, but the door won't open either. Trapped, Yukino struggles and screams in terror. Once the woman is gone, Yukino remembers her protective charm. When she pulls it out, it slowly disintegrates before her eyes. One of the monitors suddenly displays footage of Ken entering the basement, while the entrance door now stands wide open. Believing the ghost is leading her there, Yukino heads into the basement. She searches the dark room for clues until she discovers the store manager's dead body. Suddenly, the basement door slams shut. Panicked, Yukino rushes up the stairs when she screams and collapses unconscious. Yukino tells Saruwatari that she called the police after regaining consciousness. She then glances at the clock again. It reads 4:40 a.m. Growing suspicious, Saruwatari points out that she has been checking the time repeatedly. When he suggests calling it a day, Yukino becomes anxious and begs him to examine the last 2 SD cards. Though hesitant, Saruwatari finally plays the footage. The third video reveals the gruesome murders of Ken and his mother at the hands of Ken's father. The fourth video shows Yukino at home, talking to her mother online. As Saruwatari questions her, Yukino barely pays attention, her eyes fixed on the clock. When it finally strikes 4:44 a.m., Yukino lets out a sigh of relief. Before ending the meeting, Saruwatari assures Yukino that the police will place her under protection and contact her again if necessary. Outside the police station, Yukino is reunited with her worried mother. Overcome with emotion, they embrace tightly and break down in tears after everything Yukino has endured. From a distance, Saruwatari quietly watches the heartfelt reunion. Back at the office, Kondo informs Saruwatari that forensic analysis confirms all 4 SD cards contain authentic footage, and that none of the videos were taken from movies. Moments later, Saruwatari's wife, Kaho, arrives at the office with a change of clothes at his request. She also shares the joyful news that she's finally pregnant. Overjoyed, Saruwatari embraces the news with excitement. While working on the convenience store murder case on the rooftop terrace, Saruwatari hears the door swing open before closing a few seconds later. He ignores it at first, but when it happens again, his curiosity gets the better of him. He walks over to check, only to find no one there. Later that day, Saruwatari and Kondo visit the delivery driver who delivered the first SD card to Yukino. The driver tells them there was no delivery slip, and that he doesn't even remember loading the package onto his truck. As the detectives rest in their car, the same old man from the convenience store approaches Saruwatari and asks for some food if he wants to be saved. Saruwatari ignores him. The next day, Saruwatari and another detective continue investigating the murder case, but they still have no solid leads. When the next witness causes a commotion outside, his colleague steps out to deal with it. Saruwatari goes to refill his coffee, but when he returns to his desk, not recognizing Ken, Saruwatari asks how he got there, but the boy remains silent. Moments later, the old woman from the convenience store rushes into the room, frantically searching for Ken. When Saruwatari looks under the table again, the boy has vanished, leaving him bewildered. Saruwatari looks into a murder case from September 2009. He learns that Masaharu Onodera, a man suffering from mental illness, turned violent and brutally murdered his son Kenta and his wife Sayuko. As Saruwatari examines the family photos, he is stunned to recognize the same boy he had seen hiding under the table. Saruwatari watches one of the SD card videos. It shows the lifeless bodies of Kenta and Sayuko, confirming the brutal murders. The next day, Saruwatari reviews the 4 SD card videos on the rooftop terrace, but when he reaches the 4th video, Yukino's footage has been replaced by a live recording of himself, sitting on a bench at the terrace. He looks up and sees the door open. Unable to comprehend what is happening, Saruwatari cautiously approaches it, then suddenly yanks it open, only to find no one there. He jumps when Kondo suddenly appears beside him. Exhausted and frustrated by the murder case, Saruwatari continues working late into the night. He glances behind him and notices the door is half open. Moments later, he stands up and stares at it as a human figure slowly emerges behind the door. Saruwatari jolts awake from a bad dream. The following day, Saruwatari visits the convenience store to continue his investigation. Before long, he experiences the same terrifying events Yukino described. Canned drinks fall from the shelves. 5-inch nails are scattered across the floor and... Moments later, the mysterious woman Yukino encountered offers Saruwatari a protective charm, but he scolds her for trespassing in a restricted area. With the strange events continuing to haunt him after watching the footage, Saruwatari becomes increasingly frightened and mentally shaken. He looks for Yukino, but Kondo tells him she has gone on a trip with her mother. Desperate for answers, Saruwatari visits Funabashi at the hospital and aggressively questions him while he is still recovering. Funabashi reveals that before the store manager's body is discovered, he keeps seeing a woman named Noriko Hosoi, believed to be the manager's lover, lurking outside the convenience store every night. When he finally confronts her, she asks an unsettling question, whether anyone has noticed or smelled anything unusual inside the store. Funabashi tells her no. He also reveals that he has seen the manager and Noriko sneaking into the basement together several times. Hearing this, Kondo suspects the murder could be the result of a lover's quarrel. Saruwatari, however, dismisses the story and urges Funabashi to recall anything truly unusual about the store. Funabashi recalls another incident involving the air conditioner repairman he suspects of stalking Yukino. While the repairman is fixing the outdoor AC unit, Funabashi suddenly attacks him to teach him a lesson. Terrified, the man screams and runs away. Funabashi then finds Yukino unconscious behind the store and tries to wake her. Suddenly, the homeless old man attacks him, knocking him unconscious. He later tells the investigators that he secretly installed a hidden camera on top of the changing room locker to catch the culprit. Hearing this, Saruwatari rushes to the convenience store to retrieve the hidden camera. On the way, he realizes that anyone who watches the videos on the SD cards is cursed to die. But since Yukino is still alive, he suspects the curse has been passed on to him. As Saruwatari enters the store, he experiences the same terrifying events as Yukino. The shelves transform into rows of CCTV monitors, 5-inch nails litter the floor, and the ghost of Sayuko appears before him. Saruwatari retrieves the hidden camera and watches the footage. In the video, the homeless old man hides the unconscious Funabashi in a locker and learns that 4 days have passed since Yukino watched the first SD card. He tells her to copy all 4 videos onto new SD cards and pass them to someone else before 5 a.m. Otherwise, the person she loves most will die. He also reveals that Sayuko's curse haunts the land and spreads through the footage. With just over 3 hours left, the old man tells Yukino to call the police and hand the copied SD cards to the investigators during questioning. Realizing the curse has been passed to him, Saruwatari frantically checks the time, but it's already too late to find another victim. He rushes home, fearing Kaho will die. Relieved to find her alive, he suddenly breaks down in tears as he realizes the curse has already claimed their unborn child, the person he treasures most. 6 months later, Yukino returns to the convenience store, only to find it demolished and the land up for sale. As she leaves, she spots a 5-inch nail. The moment she picks it up, she has a vision of what really happened to the store manager. Horrified, she drops the nail and runs away.